Welcome to this episode of the Video Creator Show. Today, I'm speaking with Mariam Marks. She is an artist and entertainer. She has a YouTube channel with over 850,000 subscribers. She does awesome, crazy, really clever, hilarious face paint. She makes it look like her mouth is the character that she's painted her face with, and it's really funny. It's really silly. And she does more than that, of course, as well. And I'll be talking with her today about, how does one build an audience around such a seemingly niche activity, skill, whatever you want to call it. She has other social medias as well. So today is a show about Mariam Marks and how she built all of it and is doing so well. Mariam, thank you so much for being here today. So just to kind of start off, you are one of the best face painters I've seen, painting your own face. That seems like a very specific skill. Do you do it in the mirror? I know you have lots of tutorials, but can you kind of walk people through your process of painting your own face?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that kind introduction. I'm happy to be here, and I'm excited to share a little bit about just the process and the success and how hopefully this can help others do that for themselves in their own niche as well, whatever they decide to do. But when I started face painting, it was kind of like I fell into it by accident, which you'll hear that from a lot of people who are successful in what they're doing. It starts out as this self-discovery, I would say. And I was starting out by just showing some of my art pieces online, just doing little slideshows of canvas art that I had done. And most people didn't really find that very entertaining. And I had no idea very much about social media at all, honestly. I didn't understand the rhythm of it. I didn't understand why people were really on it. I wasn't on it myself as much. So to be entering that realm was very new to me. And so I quickly learned that people are on social media to learn something, to escape, to be entertained, to just go into a different world while they're in their own world. And so I quickly learned that just the canvas painting is pretty boring. And I always had these images in my mind when I heard music. They always turned into cartoons of some sort. And I'd watch music videos and I'd be like, oh my gosh, if they would have just brought in these characters for that music video, that would have been so much better. That would have been so much funnier. And so I'd have these images in my mind and I wanted to bring that to life, but I didn't know how to do that on paper. I didn't have the training to be able to make movement on paper with images. And so I got the idea one day, what if I paint it on my face? And I had my acrylic paints, which are horrible for your skin, by the way, horrible. They turn to plastic and they crack and it's just bad. But that's what I had. And so I decided, I'm just going to paint this silly dog to Linkin Park song and do what I'm imagining just to see for myself. I wasn't even doing it for other people. I just wanted to see it for myself. And it got attention. And the attention in the beginning was small compared to now. But when you're getting no attention to some attention and you get comments and you're talking to people, it's like, whoa, I actually made an impression on others. They like this. And I have so many more ideas I can share. And so I just started kind of rolling with that. And the traction was insane. It was hard to keep up with. I was like, whoa, let's put on the brakes here. I'm not a face paint artist. I do other art, but I was quickly being labeled by my audience as the face paint queen.
Mm.
And it was
a good label.
It was a lot. I watched all these other face paint artists that do cosplay and they cover up their whole face, and I was not like that. I had no training in any type of makeup or videography or anything. I was just loved having a drawing pad and sitting on the couch and drawing in my drawing book. That's how I grew up. And so to try and shift my mindset to become an entertainer artist was actually pretty invigorating. It was really fun. The dopamine release in your own brain when you show somebody your art and they go, wow, is so fun. And to be able to do that a lot faster than waiting for a 6-hour painting to show to somebody, you can just do it video after video after video. That was a whole new world for me. So the first year of that, people were like, how do you make so much content? And I'm like, I can't stop. This is so fun. So I
Wow,
would just sit
that's
there and I
amazing.
would paint it on my face, and I'd have an image in my mind, or I'd look up an image like a Pixar character or something, and then I would just be in the mirror and I would just create that on my face. And while I'm doing it, I kind of move my mouth around, my cheeks around, because your face changes over time. So you don't want to have an eyeball right in the crease of your smile, because then the eye is going to disappear. So you kind of got to shift things around how your face is structured. But I just started playing around with it and then performing it, and it was just so much fun. And the apps allowed me to do that with very little technology experience.
Hmm. And so it seems like you had a lot less resistance to creating art and kind of expressing yourself with this social media medium. So, like, instead of having to, as you said, kind of put all these hours into a painting on a canvas, you were kind of able to do something and then film it and then post it. And it seems like you were kind of combining two things in one, right? It's painting and entertainment. And that's like I find with combining mediums like that, you don't necessarily have to be an expert in any one medium, but it's the way that you combine them that makes you, I mean, in this case, successful. Like you are bringing something new to the table. And I find like not having to be a super master in anything it can be like kind of a relief and more fun. I feel like
Yeah.
it can be tedious to kind of hyper focus on one thing. Do you feel like that's kind of why this has been so much more fun? Is you can, I mean, the attention I'm sure is nice, but kind of you can experiment with different things instead of like hyper focusing on one thing.
Absolutely. I would say, like, when I took only a few art classes in school, and they do what's called a concentration. And so you take a type of medium and you focus on just that and just that style, and you produce a bunch of different pieces for it, and then you present it. It kind of felt like that. So within the realm of face paint, it was like, okay, I can do the trends that people are doing, little dancing trends, with my face. I can show someone doing ASMR with my face. And so I'm starting to like brainstorm and incorporate some of those ideas. So it creates that structure that I think is hard to find as an artist, because you're just all over the place as an artist. But
Yeah.
then it still leaves enough freedom to be creative, which is where the process like keeps repeating itself.
Hey there. You probably know the Video Creator Show is brought to you by VidChops.com. What is VidChops.com? Well, it is an editing service that will take the horrible burden of editing off your back. We all know video editing. It's tedious. It takes forever. But what if you had a professional who did it for you? You go to sleep, you wake up, it's done. Wouldn't that be magical? VidChops.com. Hire a professional, save yourself time and energy, and take your YouTube channel to the next level. And so now that you've reached this level of success, again, like 850,000 subscribers, I mean, how many total views? It's 550 million views. That is a lot of views, and that's just on YouTube. That doesn't include TikTok or Instagram or anything. Like, is this your full-time job now? Do you still have other jobs that you do? Like, what is your life like now that you've done this?
Oh man, my life has been crazy, but been so good. And I've been so thankful for the social media, because it's been kind of a main focus in my life. And my husband is kind of the driving force behind it, because he's a numbers guy. So he looks at the analytics and the numbers and like sets goals with me and helps me stay on track with that. And he's like, this is important. This is worth pursuing, because there's a future with this. Whereas I probably would have fizzled out a long time ago, not like seeing the traction, like, or seeing the money even. So he really helped me kind of structure the business side of it. But with all of that, like, I'm a new mom, and that's like crazy in and of itself. And my husband just became self-employed, which helps so much, because he can be with our son so much more and give me the freedom to do that. So we're both self-employed. I manage an Airbnb for a friend and clean it. And that's usually most busy in the summer. I am working on my master's degree to become a counselor, and I really want to do like Zoom call counseling because I really like this virtual experience. I like being able to be home with my family and taking small times away from them just to be online, not having to drive to a job. That's been really awesome. I didn't think I would want to be in the home. Before all of this, I was like, I'm not going to be a stay-at-home mother. I'm going to be, entrepreneur. I'm going out in the world. I'm going to travel. And I'm like, I am loving this because you get to do all of that through the screen. And then you just like get to eat dinner after. Like, it's just awesome. Right. Mm-hmm. So I've been just really focusing on all of that. The master's program is just going to move really slow. I'm just going to do that. Like, it's going to take like 3 or 4 years, just going to do 1 or 2 classes at a time. Because the social media is mostly full-time, I would say.
Well, I'm glad you have other focuses as well. And being a mom, obviously, fantastic. Congratulations.
Thanks.
And also, like, having the Airbnb that you clean, and to the master's degree. Like, I think it's important to have multiple things that you do outside of YouTube. Some people, it can work out to like you only do YouTube. That's kind of your one obsession. I found for me, it put too much pressure on it. Mm-hmm. It kind of sucked a lot of the fun out of it because, if it stops performing as well for a while, then it's like, oh my God, am I going to be able to pay rent? And if you don't have like these other avenues to make money or to be fulfilled, then yeah, you can be really screwed if you don't do that. So I'm glad you have figured that out. I think I had to figure that out the hard way, but some people are smarter than me.
It's hard. And if you like, I've been doing a lot of research on just like successful people and just how to like make millions basically. And almost all of them are saying something consistent across the board is you have to have different like hats that you're filling, and you have to be making money while you're sleeping too. So figuring out different niches to do that, case one fails, is like key. I mean, social media is like everything until it's nothing. So it could go away. So I'm like, oh, I would really like to be able to still help people. Counseling is something that skyrocketed during COVID. So did social media. So I'm like, that people are going to always have problems. So it's good to just have some backup plans along the way. And like you said, I think it allows you to be more creative because then you're not so bogged down by the pressure of one thing. And I function that way too. I would get burnt out. I have to like do stuff with my hands. I'm like, I'm going to go clean this Airbnb because it's really fun to just move a little bit and not be in front of a computer all day. So.
Yeah, right on. So smart. I'm glad you have figured that out, and it's really crucial, especially wearing many hats and kind of being a creative person. I feel like that's important as well. Like kind of being able to jump between different things. I find that sometimes I'm like kind of sick of one thing, but then this other thing is more interesting, and then it kind of reverses, and it kind of keeps me balanced. I find like my different moods. Yeah. Maybe I just feel like doing something else, and now there's this thing that I can do that is productive, and I can focus on that today.
I love that.
It's having those different hats. It helps a lot for sure. So you talked about the business aspect of your channel. Your husband is a numbers guy, so clearly he's been kind of helping with the analytics and maybe. So what does that look like exactly? Does he help you with topics to cover, trends to hit, how often to post? Like let's talk business now.
So to have a successful business, I would say one of the first things is like schedule and structure. And that is like my weakest point as an artist. I just like want to go paint when I feel like it. And sometimes it's hours long. Sometimes I don't paint for weeks. And so he really keeps me on track with, okay, you need to at least, if this is what you want, then you need to do this once a week. You need to paint once a week. And so like, even before this podcast, I was like, hey, babe, I can't even remember like the timeline with YouTube. Can you write that down for me? And he wrote it down on a piece of paper talking about, okay, in October you had 10,000 followers and now your goal for 2023 was to have 500,000 followers, but that actually surpassed it and you have 850,000 followers. So now your next goal should probably be around 2.5 million. I'm like, okay. So he's really good at that kind of stuff. And then helping me reevaluate when things get discouraging as well. So that's a really good strength with him, like figuring out the schedule. I have yet to get him on board with helping me manage like emails and brand deals and looking up the trend of the day and stuff like that. It's still doable right now. I feel like I would be a lot further along if I had someone doing those things for me. And so I've looked into possibly having a manager of some sort. But at the same time, I am moving kind of as fast as I can, I would say, because it's a one-man show. So I think it's okay that I'm still doing those things for now. And he's taken interest in it, but it doesn't seem to be a strength of his yet. He's not very computer savvy, so he doesn't know all the different platforms like Aspire to look for 5 brands each month and then talk to these people over here and he doesn't know that side of it yet. But that hasn't been too overwhelming. And then as far as creativity goes, he's actually thought of a lot of the ideas. So in the beginning, it was just like, I had just spitfire ideas in my mind. And then I'll hit lulls just because I'm tired and I'm a mom and life is happening. I'm like, I don't know what to paint. I don't know what to do. Part of it is I need to find all the songs for it. And so we'll sit down on like a Sunday evening and we'll pick like 10 characters for the month that seem appealing to me and are trending. And then we'll pick top songs or sounds. And some of those videos are going to be like a music video, like a longer video. And some of them are going to be little shorts. And then I probably get about 50% of that done every month. So, and then it rolls over into the next month. Yeah. So he's really good for me to just like basically talk to the wall. Like I just needed like spitfire this out.
Right. And so when it comes to sponsorships and brand deals, can you talk about, I know you said you haven't been utilizing them as much as you could be, but like what has been your experience with those so far? Especially like a lot of your content is shorts, like, you know, the vast majority of your views. I mean, your biggest short has 160 million views. So like what has been your experience with brand deals, kind of this being your bread and butter?
Yeah. So great question. I'm just going to kind of rewind a little bit, just talking about kind of the difference between the platforms. And then that kind of plays into brand deals a little bit. So TikTok kind of was like the spark that started it all, but it didn't really pay. But it was kind of like having bragging rights. It's kind of like having a resume and saying, hey, I got 4.3 million followers. That counts for something. Companies see that as valuable. And then you offer to post on other platforms as well. So you create a package deal. So that's kind of how I approached it before was, okay, you're not only going to be posted on the platform that has the most followers, because I may get a lot more buyers on my Instagram because they're more intimate, or I might get a lot more views on YouTube, even though I don't know why they're slowing it on TikTok. So I try and like make that work when I'm coordinating with a brand deal so that they feel like they're getting the best bang for their buck, because the whole goal for marketing is to be seen. So it's like, what can I offer to have more views for them? And then the other side of things is I've just been really trying to show brands and companies that I'm not just a makeup artist. It's not just makeup or face paint that sells. I literally can paint a character that's like going to buy a car and we're going to do a Ford car commercial. Like we can do whatever. And that's taken a while for people to kind of understand that that's possible. So I think that's coming. It's just a matter of more brand deals seeing that happening. And I've talked with YouTube and I've talked with them on basically making like playlists so that they can see categories where all the marketing videos are. So like a marketer can go and just like see what type of marketing this person has done. I think that would really help more creators get brand deals. So it's not just such a search.
Right.
A lot of times I'm approached and then we make a deal. And there's been a few times when I have free time that I really like a company or something and I just stay persistent in reaching out to them. And maybe I reach out to them 1 month on email and then I'm like, hey, they didn't email back. I'm going to email them again and I'm going to DM them on Instagram. They didn't get back. Okay, I'm going to DM them on TikTok, Instagram, and email them one more time. And then they get back and they're so excited. And it's like, oh, okay, they don't hate me. They just are busy like I am. And so there's a persistence there that's really key with finding brand deals. And so like you'll hear many other people say, and as you know, a marketer first and then an artist second, a marketer first
Mm.
or entertainer second. So there's some skills there to learn, definitely. Right now I'm working on basically creating like a package, because everyone asks me my rates, and any artist, as you know, it's like, hey, ask me what you want to pay for this painting and I'll tell you. It's like, you don't want to have your prices up, but I feel like it would be easier for brands to know, okay, this is what she's offering this month. Maybe we'll do monthly deals. And then having example videos there in a package, in the email, so they can go through it virtually and understand what they're getting. So it just feels a little more professional rather than talking to some girl sitting in Idaho on her computer.
Mm-hmm. Sure, yeah. And I feel like one of the hardest things as an artist or anything is figuring out how much to charge. And I think with brand deals, it's more straightforward, right? Because
Yeah.
you can probably have a decent idea of how many views you're going to get, especially once you've kind of done a few brand deals, then you get a feel for kind of how much you are going to help the brand actually, how much traffic they will actually get relative to how many views the video gets. And then kind of over time, it becomes more obvious how to charge for a brand deal versus your time. So I guess, how do you decide? Like, do you charge differently? So let's say you're working with a large company. Are you more likely to charge them a bit more money than a small company, if you're comfortable talking about these
I'm
things?
comfortable talking about it. That's a great question. Um, it's a gray area. You really gotta decide what you want most. And so if it's a company that you're just like, let's say it's Nike, and it's a company that's going to also get you a ton of views, so there's like a mutual relationship there, then maybe that's something that's like, hey, the first like 3 videos, let's have them on me, and then let's plan for some sort of budget contract later as those videos perform well and you decide you want to work with me. Trying to make it attractive to them as well, because they have a budget too. Bigger companies have a lot of money, but they have a lot of money into things. So they need to see that you're worth that as well. And sometimes they're not ready to gamble. So you just have to kind of read it when you're talking to them. You're like, are you ready to gamble on me or not? Other companies is I like to talk to, I just say, hey, here's my rates. And they come back, whoa, that's way higher than what I'm expecting. But I personally know like the lowest that I'm comfortable with. And so then I ask them, well, what's your counter offer? Like, what's something you're comfortable with? And if it's still higher than what I'm good with, then it's like, it's a win-win for everybody. If it goes lower than that, then it's like, you have to be willing to let it go, which is really, really, really hard for me. I'm like, I just want to help them and do it for free. And my husband's like, nope, we're past
Get
that
that
now.
money. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
yeah,
yeah.
Money can be weird, especially
Yes.
as an artist. Money can feel awkward, or it takes getting used to when it comes to talking about it, right? Because obviously this is something that you really enjoy doing, and I certainly found that with doing brand deals and negotiating for them, definitely at first, and even after a while, it still is always weird. Like, how much is this worth? How much do I charge for what I do? It can feel a little dirty at times, or something like that. But then also the flip side of that is, if you're doing all this free work for people, then they're taking advantage of you. So it's like you kind of have to find this middle ground where you like for me at least, it's important to feel like I'm helping them, but also I'm getting helped.
Yeah.
So there needs to be kind of a mutually beneficial relationship here, and that's the sweet spot, I guess. Some people, I think, like to just charge as much as possible, get that money, and move on to the next one, or and hope that it does well enough for this company to come back, or something. Like, they're not as concerned with the actual value that they're giving. And I wish I was that shameless. I feel like it would have made my life so much easier.
Yeah, I actually just reached out to a gal that I did a video for. She's an electric company, and I did a little light bulb that was celebrating not having to pay expensive bills. But at the time, she paid me what I was worth, but my video quality is way worse than it is now. The video quality is way better now. So I'm like, oh, I really want to redo that. And so I reached out to her. I was like, hey, I think I'm just going to like redo that for you and send that over. And she's like, really? No way. And so I'm like, yeah, because that not only like helps solidify that when she's thinking next that she wants to advertise, she's going to reach out to me again. But it also shows that my skill has gotten better and other brands can see, wow, okay, like she used her again. This did well. She's not just winging it anymore. So I think as you look at your value, you also need to look at your journey and look back at, okay, it's not just here and now that I do this. It's the 4 or 5 years of buying different ring lights and different phones and different audio and figuring out trends and lighting and all of that, like putting it into your work. So that counts for something. Like I've done art for 30 years. So it's like that counts for something.
Definitely. Absolutely. And like now that you've been doing this for as long as you have, like what so your next goal you said earlier was like 2.5 million subscribers. Was that so like for me plotting how many subscribers I want, it's like a good thing to shoot for, but it also feels abstract or something like how it feels like a side effect of just making good videos and following trends and, you know, trying to do the business stuff right. But it's almost like you can do everything right, but you might get more than that or less than that. Like, do you feel like there is some methodical way to get subscribers beyond just like posting consistently and hitting trends and SEO or whatever? Like, how do you view that goal of 2.5 million subscribers these days?
Yeah. So I can't remember the name of it in psychology and goal setting, but you basically start with like your end goal and you work backwards from it. Like, how are you going to get there? And the subscriber count is very much kind of out of your control. Like you're saying, it's very abstract and it's a side effect of what's happening from what you're doing. And so with that, it's like, if I had 2.5 million followers, what do I want to have for them? Like, why would they follow me? What makes my page so good that they're going to be there for it? Right now, it's shorts and a few tutorial videos. There's got to be a lot more than that. So then I go to the drawing page and I look at kind of what goals I want to have and like how I want my page to look and then what's possible within the year timeline. And so for this year, I really, and it's, again, there's factors that are out of my control because I'm working with other people on this, but I have a cartoon series that I'm starting called The Fun Bunch. And I've got one episode out and it's like horribly done because like it doesn't sync up and the lighting's bad. And that's just how it goes. You got to start. But we're working on the second episode now and I'm just waiting on them. And it's been months for the second episode to come out. But my goal is to have at least 12 episodes up for the year. I don't know if I'm going to reach that. I might make it to half, but that would be something fun for people to count on and be able to come to my page and be like, she's got the cartoon series episode up, you know? So that's one thing I'm working on. Just having more tutorials. It's so boring for me, but people love the behind the scenes and the tutorials because they want to do it too. And I want them to do it too. I just have to take the time to realize that even if it's not that exciting for me, it might be exciting for somebody else. So trying to, you know, make that fun for myself so I'm motivated internally to go do that. Another thing that I feel like could really just kind of open up avenues on my page is right now I've kept it really family friendly and I continue to plan to do that, but I haven't really targeted it towards a specific audience. So to have a section that is just for children's music, like the Itsy Bitsy Spider and all of that, so parents can turn it on, because I do that all the time with Miss Rachel. I turn her stuff on with my kid and he loves it. And so I've had people reach out saying, hey, if you have like an hour-long video of your characters doing different children's songs, like we'll put that on and just in the background. And I'm like, okay, that's another revenue stream that can bring in revenue and followers. The other avenue, and it's kind of hard to do this on channels, when you have a specific niche, you kind of want to stay in it, but I'm trying to figure out how to kind of incorporate that into my channel. I want to have some more skits, like couples skits with my husband and I, because he's finally on board. But I'm trying to figure out how to do that in a different way. Some might have face paint, some might not. And I just want people to feel more connected to me as a person. And that's really where a lot of sponsorships and brand deals come from, is if it's like you, not just your face paint. So I'm trying to like incorporate that without losing the authenticity of the channel. So we're going to play around with that this year a little bit. Master classes, like having paid master classes so people can learn how to do all the stuff I know how to do. That's something. Clothing line, we'll get there. And then children's books. I have a ton of children's books I've been working on for my like whole life. And so making that digital and doing readings with the characters from the books, I was thinking would be kind of fun for people to, you know, invest in and follow in. So just looking at those categories and then executing them and seeing what catches traction. Whatever catches traction, that's what you then focus on, because that's where the followers come from. So right now it's been shorts. YouTube's pushing shorts. Shorts is trending. Instagram and TikTok are in a war. So everyone's going to shorts because that's what's working right now. And so that's what I'm doing. And that's where the followers have come from. But you got to like plan and cultivate and grow what you have. Otherwise it'll just die. It will.
Right. Like there's always a need to kind of pivot with the times, and it can feel conflicting, I think, because on the one hand you want to innovate and evolve, but on the other hand you have this thing that is working, and you don't want to change it too quickly, and you want to. It's like how do you change while not changing too much? It feels like such a contradiction sometimes. Because like you can get stagnant by staying in your lane too much, but then if you change it up too much, then your audience is like, what is this? This isn't what I came here for. Like, and then you can kind of lose it. So like, how do you bridge that? I'm sure, and I know for everybody, this is always kind of a work in progress, but do you have any philosophies on how to evolve organically?
Yeah, I would just say, like, just what I've done. I've gone on other channels where like maybe they play the same song over and over and over again, and they get tired of scrolling through their videos because it's just the same song over and over again. But I want to watch the videos, but it's the same song and I'm going crazy. So I try and make sure my page is a little bit more structured, that you're not going to just see an ad every second. So if I'm advertising OG skincare, you're not going to see like 12 videos in a row of that. You're going to see it sporadically throughout it. And then if I'm doing a character focus, if I can do it, you're not going to just see that in a row. So just trying to create some more variety for the viewers and the viewership is key. It's hard to do though, because you can kind of get lost. And I would also say a lot of creators get really stressed about taking a break, and they're like, everything's just going to crumble. And the algorithm is there to like help you. It's not like your enemy. It's not just going to turn off because you turned off for a minute. So what you may feel like is such a long time, like a week, let's say it's a week, you take a week off. The social media world has no idea that you took a week off. The social media world has no idea that I painted the cactus like 2 months ago. It's like,
especially when it's still getting views.
It's still getting views. It looks like it's new right now, but I have a lot in my library that I'm going to just keep shuffling out. And so that kind of helps too, is like getting ahead of yourself, having a game plan. I don't like painting every day anymore because my lifestyle has just changed. So I evolved. I changed. I used to paint every single night in the middle of the night. And I can't do that. My health doesn't allow me to do that. So we structured it to where I paint once or twice a week, 1 or 2 characters, fill up a ton of videos in all my platforms, keep them all different, and slowly shuffle them out throughout the week. And that seemed to works the best for the algorithm and for my sanity.
Right. And do you feel like one of the most satisfying things about this whole process is figuring out that kind of process? Because like one thing that is fun and also frustrating, I find, about being creative is like you're always battling chaos or something. Like there's a desire to want to do exactly what you want to do whenever you want to do it. But when you don't have any like parameters to kind of control what you do or limit what you do, that can actually be a weird curse,
Yeah.
having too much freedom. I found like during the like COVID or the lockdowns or whatever, when I had a lot of free time, I thought like, okay, well, I have all this time, then I should be focusing only on passion projects and all that fun stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I actually found I had so much time that when I would work on a passion project, I would like kind of obsess over things that didn't matter. And sure, I made some videos that I was proud of and posted them, but it was actually kind of a curse having that much time and freedom. Whereas when you kind of figure out processes like you just described of like, okay, I'm going to paint twice a week and I'm going to do only these characters during that time, and I'm going to batch film, and then it's like you end up being more productive with less work, more efficiency, and you still get to do to create what you want to create. And that feels amazing. And it's like if you didn't initially have those limitations of, you know, your health wasn't allowing you to stay up all night, which can has I've done that in the past, like made these videos into the night, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was so great. I'm such an angsty artist. I'm so proud of myself. And then the next morning, I feel horrible, and I have to sleep until like 3 in the afternoon. But like these parameters, these limitations, they can be helpful if worked with and kind of like if accepted, which I think is the hardest part. Like how was there a way that you found yourself accepting these limitations and rolling with them as well as you have? Yeah.
That was a hard one for me because I get a very obsessive mind, and it almost feels like it's kind of torture in the back of my mind. I kind of get a little bit envious of people who aren't artists because they don't have anything to do. I'm like, I wish I could feel that way, because I feel like I constantly have some sort of project I need to be working on right now, and it's not getting done. And so that allowed me to turn my brain off and just give myself grace, because I was getting burnt out just by my own thoughts. I wasn't even doing action. And so it was crazy. I was like crying at night. Like, I have this video I need to do. My husband's like, it's 2 a.m, go to sleep. And I'm like, but I'm not caught up. And so he's like, okay, we got to have some structure here, because it's not going to work. You're not going to get every single thing you want to do. And you can't drop it like you can before and just drop everything and go film a video because you heard a sound. You have to save it. You have to plan it. And then you have to execute it on the days that you're going to execute it, because you're a mom and you're a wife and you're doing a master's degree and you chose to do these other things too. So this is the only way that it will work. And he helped me see that. And once I could see that, I was like, okay. And I actually am way more productive this way. Way more.
Yeah, and it keeps that like crazy brain in check. I know exactly what you're talking about. Like you could go crazy obsessing over ideas and like I could be doing this. Yeah, there's always something you could be doing. It's like, why am I watching TV, or why am I relaxing? Why am I cleaning? Why am I going for a walk when I could be creating something great? And it's like, because technically you could do that with any free time at all. But yeah, like these limitations, these time restraints, I've only in the last like few months maybe started to kind of embrace them more, and I feel like it has helped my mental health and even productivity. It's I don't know. I I think being like a creative person, there's like at least for me, I've had a resentment about like material reality, or like all of the kind of mundane day-to-day things that need to be done. Like I can't just I don't know, live on a mountaintop or whatever. It's like there's all these things that need to be done that maybe are kind of boring, but they actually keep me grounded. And if I'm not grounded, then I spend all of my time in my head obsessing about things and not actually taking action, and then I'm not actually happy or productive. So it's been a journey. I can relate to you so much on all of this, and I'm so glad that you're figuring it out so well. And like your husband is clearly complimenting you amazingly. Like, so one interesting thing I've found is having like a numbers person, a kind of more
Yeah.
business structure person can be really helpful.
Yeah.
But then there's also kind of a give and take too, right? Because being creative, there are like I don't there's like a moodiness to it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, you
Totally.
have these plans for a week, but then you're just like, maybe you're tired, or maybe you
Yep.
feel like doing something else, or maybe this other trend popped up and you're like, I'll do that instead. Like, is there any point where I know you said kind of on Sundays you will sit down with your husband and kind of hash some things out, make a plan. But like, is there ever times when you like he's explaining what you need to do, but then you have to kind of explain where you're coming from? Like, has that ever been difficult to like articulate the chaos within and make it make sense to somebody who is more mentally organized? Because I've certainly struggled with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually happened this week because I got sick and just feeling frustrated about that because I'm like, I'm not going to get my filming day that I planned. So how am I going to get those videos? What am I going to do? And he's like, you're going to sleep and recover. But, or like, I'll have a day there. He's like, you're going to do your face paints today. I'm like, I don't want to. I don't feel like smiling. I don't feel like entertaining somebody today. I'm like, I'm all touched out. I've been with baby Jason all day. I'm just tired. And so he's like, well, when do you want to do it? And I'm like, well, now I want to do it tomorrow, but how does that work with your schedule? And he's like, well, I have a car detail that day, so that kind of messes up my schedule. But maybe when I get back, then I can take care of the babies. Can you do it later in the day? And so then we like have to do like a quick replan. But thankfully, he is someone who rarely ever, if ever, has contention about anything. He's very very kind, and so he just takes a minute to shift. I'm quicker to shift. I'm like, okay, I'm not doing it today, so I'm gonna do this, and he's like, whoa, we have plans.
Oh
so
my
he
God.
comes
Yep.
around and makes make a compromise. So it takes like a minute to talk about it, but it's not the end of the world. It's just taking two brains and then doing life together. So it's a challenge, but it's a good challenge.
Definitely. And it seems like you guys really balance each other out, complement each other. That's a beautiful thing. I'm really happy you have found that.
Thank you. Me too.
And now we're kind of getting towards the end, and this is a question I like to ask people, but like now that you are officially a YouTube, TikTok, Instagram success, like how do you feel differently on the inside than you did before, if at all?
It's really interesting that you say that because I've kind of had to adjust my thinking on my outlook on life as there's just different seasons of life. And so with this, I'm like, how long is this season going to last? But with that comes a sense of identity. And I've had to change my identity a few times because before all of this, I was a college athlete. And I was known for playing basketball and scoring lots of points. And everyone knew me for that and would let me, like, pay me to fundraise and all that. And so then that went away. And now I'm just married. Well, what do I do? And so, like, I've had to kind of shift a little bit in my identity. But one core identity has always been art. And so this plays into that personality trait, I would say. And having my husband say, yeah, do that, definitely lighted a fire in me. And his validation kind of keeps me going more than other validation. Other validation is really good. And knowing that I'm making a difference and bringing joy and laughter, like that's my whole goal on social media. But I would not be able to keep doing it if it didn't sustain us financially. So that's kind of the driving force behind it. The moment that stops doing that, I got to do something else because I have a family that is my first priority. And that's something I care about the most. So I don't know. It's been good. And the positive feedback is way better than negative, I would say, just because I have always been someone that wears my emotions on the sleeve. But I've learned that some of the negative feedback isn't really real. And it's often really little kids. So,
Yep, definitely.
So just kind of adjusting my thoughts on that. I appreciate all the comments and I really like connecting with the true fans that are there to be there and to enjoy art with me and don't really have any alternative motive there. They just enjoy the art. I've loved connecting with those people, and I try and read every comment. Obviously, it gets to be a lot, but sometimes I'll just go through and I'll read comments and I'll like them. I don't get to respond to all of them, but that connection is really good to know that every once in a while I'm making a difference in someone's life. That video brought joy, made them smile. They had a crappy day and they were able to go on there and they didn't see something else crappy online. They just got to see a funny face paint. So that kind of keeps me going.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And that what you said about identity, I think, is really important. Like, it's so easy to get tied up with identity and how like social media can become your identity if you're not careful.
Yeah.
And that's dangerous because social media, it's not real. Like, obviously you are much more than the person who is awesome at face painting and entertaining people with it. But also you are that person. So like, if sometimes people lean in too much to this like personality or this character that they play, and that can be dangerous. So like having a family and having this kind of groundedness is so important. Like, can you talk about a little more about, so you were a college athlete, a basketball player, you said, and that was a big part of your identity. And then kind of changing to a different chapter of life. Now you have to find kind of a new identity. Now, this is something I dealt with somewhat recently. So like my channel, Treesicle, I took a big step back from that and then had to find other ways to kind of make money. And now I freelance but there was a part of my identity, like a huge part of it, that kind of died. I had to let it die. And that was really painful. That was really difficult. So can you speak to kind of how you might suggest somebody who's going through a transition like that, how they could deal with it?
Yeah, absolutely. You hit it right on the head with just the feeling of loss and truly feeling like it dies. And in a sense, it does. It leaves your life, and it's no longer in the present. I look back on those experiences, and I'm so glad I had them, and that was a part of my upbringing, playing basketball. I even did firefighting for 2 years, and like,
that's dope.
My dad's like, "Why did you stop? You were like doing all that." And I think the biggest loss we feel sometimes is the amount of time you invest into it. And so it's like, was that worth it, or did I waste it? Because we only have so much time. And I actually been studying this a little bit in my psychology class. We've been talking about Carl Rogers, and he talks about just this internal anxiety that humankind itself has, because we know that we're on a time limit, that we're going to be done one day. And that actually that internal anxiety keeps you moving forward, even though you don't really want to be. So it's kind of interesting. Yep. But the biggest thing I found with moving from thing to thing and still like knowing who you are is accepting that is part of your life. So you can go through the grieving process, the 5 steps of grief, and then you get to acceptance, but also just realizing that it wasn't a waste of time. It wasn't a waste of time, and you wouldn't be able to be doing what you're doing now if you were doing that. Opportunity cost. So you got to choose when you're going to do each of those things. And like, for example, I really want to have horses one day so bad. I've said that since I was a little girl. I'm like, I will have so many horses. But now I'm a mother, and like they demand everything. And I'm like, we are not having horses right now. It will be later. And so it keeps getting pushed to later, but it's going to happen one day. And so, but that can't happen if I let go of something else. So we only have so much time in a 24-hour period. So just deciding that is okay, that is done, and moving on to the next thing, and realizing that you are fulfilled by what you're doing. I think that's the biggest key. If you feel fulfilled, then it's okay. But if you constantly feel like a piece is missing, then there's some soul searching to do there still. I cried for years that I wasn't playing overseas basketball because I had opportunities, but then I decided to get married. And I was like, does that really mean I'm just done? And then I thought about it. I was like, if I was playing basketball, I wouldn't get to be hanging out with my husband all the time. I'd be married to the team. That doesn't sound fun. I wouldn't be able to be spending time with my sweet little baby. That actually doesn't sound fun. I actually don't want to be doing that right now. That's why I'm not doing it. And so like looking internally, realizing how honest you are with yourself, like maybe it was great while you were doing it, but it's not now, and that's why you're not doing it now.
Mm-hmm.
And being okay
I love
with
what
that.
yeah, and I love what you said about it not being a waste of time. Like whatever it was, like that
Yep.
was so huge for me, especially if you have like a huge transition where it feels like what you're doing next has little to do with what you were doing before.
Right.
Like that can be especially hard because it's like, well, now this isn't like I can put it on my resume or something,
Yeah.
but like, is it that helpful for my resume? Like for me, my transition to freelancing, fortunately, it was very relevant and it was like a pivot, right? But sometimes I think it's not that obvious. And in your
Yeah.
case, this seems like it wasn't overtly obvious.
Yeah.
But there's always a kind of intangible thing that can come with like a period of time where you're really focused on something. It kind
Yeah.
of changes you internally. I think you said something about being fulfilled, and if you feel fulfilled, if that journey that you went on fulfilled you, then there is an intangible value to that that can carry you through the next thing that you did. And there's like things you learned, ways of thinking, modes of being
Yeah.
that are really valuable. They have programmed you and helped you in some way,
Yeah.
and they're still there. They're still with you.
Knowledge is
So,
never a
yeah,
waste. It's never a
yes.
waste. Like, you take knowledge with you. And I don't know what everyone's beliefs are with just the realm of life, but I had to like sit and explain with my dad about the firefighting. He's like, you spent 15 weeks in the academy, you studied all those, like everything, you passed all the classes, you're like totally certified, and you're just like not going to be a firefighter. And I'm like, yeah, and I love it, but I'm not doing that. And he's like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm like, what I learned from that experience was that I truly can accomplish what I put my mind to. I needed to know that for myself to move forward in my life. And that little voice is in the back of my head every time I post a video. I can create the future I want to with my actions. I proved it to myself in a super hard 15-week academy that I was exhausted in. Like, that's what I needed to learn from that. And I gained some skills, so later I have something in my back pocket. If that's something I decide to do, I know I'm interested in it, and I know I can do it, and I just have to do the steps to do it. But I'll do it later because I want to do a family now. And so like it just helped him understand a little bit, and just kind of having that type of, it's not necessarily logical thinking, but it's just more organized thoughts and more honest, I really think helps with the emotion of letting go.
Mm-hmm. Beautifully said, Mariam. That is fantastic. You're fantastic. Your channel is fantastic. All of this. Thank you for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for this podcast. I was really happy you reached out, and I just really hope this helps people on their journey, on what they're doing in their life, and that they remember that their life is valuable, and what they have to say and do like means something. So take action. Don't be sitting there doing nothing. Let's get going.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Wise words. Mariam Marks, everybody. Check her out. That's her channel. And is there anything else you'd like to pitch before we head out?
Just, if you think you're not an artist, you are. We all create in some way or another. So try things. Try different mediums. You might discover something that you never knew that you could do. And that's kind of how I was with the face paint. I never saw myself as a cartoon artist. But this has opened up an avenue to show my other talents because of the popularity of it, if that makes sense. So you never know. You just never know. Just try.
Mm-hmm. There you go. I love it. That's the best pitch that I could think of, and that I love it. So wholesome. Thank you for watching, everybody. You're wonderful, and I will see you in the next one.
Thank you, Grant.
Later.